extrinsic laryngeal muscles is the way to let the intrinsic laryngeal muscles do their work. In particular, Douglas Stanley is a proponent of this. And so if you're just tuning in from This is Opera, welcome. I'm sorry it was your turn tonight to not have the stream start on time. You can like and subscribe to the channel that you're on, but you may be watching this on Mr. Opera, and you may be watching this on This is Opera. And we've got live chat for each of those channels. And but unfortunately, if you're on This is Opera, then you've missed the beginning of this stream. So head on over to Mr. Opera, and there you should be able to start from the beginning. We've read already section 35 from Manuel Garcia's Hints on Singing, and we're going to move on now to section 36. So if you wanted section 35, then I suggest head over to the Mr. Opera channel. So, unless anyone has questions about this, the other thing I would say is, other than he seems to be contradicting himself, but I agree with him about keeping the larynx firm. And I should finish talking about this bone at the top of your larynx. So if you're lowering your larynx, you may notice that if you don't want this sound, then you've got to keep going and actually lower the hyoid bone until this gap is closing. It's a little harder. you need to pull harder, I guess. And you have to involve more muscles. In particular, there's muscles going to your chest, which were already possibly involved with pulling down on your thyroid cartilage, but now we need to pull down on the hyoid. And I'm not quite sure, but it could be that So another way you can pull down your larynx is with your diaphragm, but I seem to be able to make this dopey sound even with almost all of my air pulled out. So that seems to imply it's coming from the sternothyroid. That's a muscle that goes from here in the chest to your thyroid cartilage. Let me know if you want to take a look at the 3D model. It can help us to get situated. But then the part I keep dancing around is that when you want to open your jaw, you're actually going to wind up pulling on this hyoid bone in some way. And that can do one of two things. It can destabilize the larynx, or it can open the jaw, or both. But if the larynx is kept very firm and in place, then when muscles pull against the larynx, or when muscles shorten the distance between the larynx and the jaw, then that will result more in jaw opening rather than disturbing the larynx. And that's the idea. You can't do this by relaxing your jaw. That doesn't make any sense, because it's the muscles that are opening the jaw that are getting tense. Those need to be tense because you need your jaw to be open, and you need the jaw to be open. Well, unless you're actually listening to Garcia's advice, and it may be that you're singing lighter things, and so you're not really making extreme jaw openings. But if you're making extreme jaw openings, because you need maximum power. Then it really matters that you're able to keep your hyoid stabilized while you open the jaw. And there may be questions of timing. There may be questions of coordination when it comes to when you can pull on what, and etc., etc. Take a look at yesterday. I was demonstrating a few examples of like vowel consonant combinations, and if you have any more to ask about, feel free to do so in the chat or send me an email. You can even set up a voice lesson. I'll do it this way.
Dovrebbe un cantante servirsi della voce di petto?
No.
I forgot to turn on my microphone. Sorry. Everything I said was stupid, so probably it's no big deal. But yeah. Anyway, we're back, and I was just talking about how much the dog was enjoying his bone, and that it seems like a little bit too much bone for this little dog. So I don't know how long I'm gonna let him chew on that thing. But yes. So Manuel Garcia, Hints on Singing, Section 36, Distribution of Words on Notes. What are the rules for distributing words on notes? First, to apply a syllable to every isolated note or group of notes bound or tied together. But this rule is superseded by another, which requires that the strong beats, especially the first in each bar, and the strong syllable should coincide to preserve the rhythm. Voi che sapete che cos'è amor, donne vedete, s'iolo nel cor. But why? Okay, anyway. Is it always possible to keep the words as the composer has placed them? When high notes have to be sung on unfavorable vowels or articulations, or when too many words embarrass the swift flow of vocalization, The singer is at liberty to displace and even suppress certain words, provided he does not distort the sense. For example, accento oh. Well, I can't really read this too well, but now it's easy. Cento trappole farò giocar. And then farò giocar. Okay. So instead of cento trapole farò giocar. Yeah, farò giocar, farò. So, standard. Okay. If it be necessary to place a consonant on a high note, there is the danger of slurring up to or breaking on that note. This may be averted by beginning the sound with the noise of the consonant. In Italian, it happens frequently that syllables are in excess of the places assigned to them. This difficulty, caused by the vowels, is easily overcome by contracting two or more, as the case may be, into one syllable. This contraction is regulated by the presence or absence of an accented vowel. If one of the number be accented, it forms a distinct syllable with any other that may precede, and the vowel or vowels that follow, if any, form a second syllable. All other consecutive non-accented vowels are drawn into one syllable. In example C, the note D represents 3 notes. Cari luoghi ov'io passai i primi anni di mia vita. Yes. So, standard stuff. You will get this stuff from just about any voice teacher who's familiar with how to sing in Italian. And a lot of pianists can help you with this stuff. So this is rather straightforward. Shall I read one more? Let's see what's coming up. Yeah, we're almost... Oh, no. Okay. Just gonna stick with these 2 sections. Because I wanted to show a little bit today some of what I've been working on in an application called Blender. That's the 3D application that I've showed you a couple times. Because I've been talking quite often here about a concept that I call these areas of interest. And if you bear with me for one moment, I'm going to change to a different window here. Okay, there we go. So this is my my little project that I've been working on to try to illustrate, or I guess to help people visualize vocal acoustics. And if you haven't watched my series on vocal acoustics, you can find those on my channel in the actual videos section. There's visualizing vocal acoustics, 1, 2, and maybe 3, and I'm showing different apps. They're free apps. This app is also free, but the stuff I'm showing, unlike this Pink Trombone, which is just available for free online, you can just go there and mess around with it. And then Vocal Tract Lab, which I also showed, which is a very sophisticated app, that's also free. And then this app is also free, Blender. You can see maybe there's a theme. But of course, if you have Blender, you just have the app itself. It's just a regular 3D animation and modeling and stuff application. On this model, I've got all 5 areas of interest, or you could, well, yes, all 5 areas of interest, and the way that they're indicated is area of interest number 1 is this curve that you can see going. Let's see. If I only show, whoops, oh geez, sorry, that's a bunch of stuff we don't need. So if I just show, no, that's not gonna work. Okay, it doesn't work that way. But in any case, you can see this curved line going down the model, and that's being calculated with some math that's probably wrong. But what it's trying to do is calculate the shortest path out of the vocal tract from the larynx. So it's area of interest number 1. And when the vocal tract changes shape, those calculations are updated, and so this line changes. But not only does the line change, you can notice that these colors are changing. Or see where the darkest part of the purple color is changing, and where the darkest part of the blue color is changing, and etc., etc. These different colors represent area of interest number, let's see. Let's annotate this. So the line was area of interest number 1, and then, oh, what's going on here? Number 2 is there. Number 3 is there. Number 4 is there. And number 5. Oops, number 5. Could probably use a different color. But, it is what it is at the moment. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but. So when this changes shape, number 4 and number 5 don't just stay in place. Well, I mean, number 3 in this case and number 2 aren't staying in place either. So when those lips move out or come back, it moves area of interest number 2. And when the larynx moves up and down, it moves area of interest number 3. Well, what happens to area of interest number 4? Well, area of interest number 4 is always 1/3 of the way, right? So now area of interest number 4 is here. And area of interest number 5 is always 2/3 of the way. So area of interest number 5 is there. An example of how this affects you when you're singing. And let's just to review again. I'll just keep reviewing this. I think it's good. Oops. I think it's good to just keep reviewing. So let me change the colors of my line here, and let's so I'm gonna make, let's see, red should show up pretty well. Well, let me just pick a color that shows up. I like that color. That works. Okay. So let's say that I park my tongue in smack dab in the middle of area of interest number 5. And I've got my lips stuck out and my larynx lowered. Now that's going to sound like this. Where's my larynx? It makes this sound. Let's say that I started to take away some of the length in area of interest number 1. Now, let's say that I'm doing it by, let's say I'm going to take away some of this pushing out of the lips, and I'm just going to put them there. So from here to there. That's going to wind up moving area of interest number 5 back. And if I were to just leave my tongue in the same place, even though my tongue stayed still, from the point of view of area of interest number 5, my tongue has moved. So, and if I wanted something like E, I would have to bring my tongue back along with my lips. So, and when I look at studies or whatever, when I'm trying to learn more about my voice, I often see someone saying, lower your larynx or something like that. And they're not telling me what I'm doing with area of interest number 1. That's that line that's running. I'll zoom in, so maybe make it easier to see. And I'll maybe modify this tomorrow or something, so that this line actually has more size to it. You can see this orange line running up the middle of the vocal tract. Yes, sorry. Oh, let's get that nice stabilization now. I see. Okay. So this line, and if we move this around, we can see how it's changing. Yes. This represents area of interest number 1. And when you want to talk about what's going on with the resonance, or what is the position, etc., in my opinion, you have to start with this. This is the context. If you're raising your larynx, and you're pushing your lips out, area of interest number 1 has a certain length. And then if you pull your lips back, it's got a different length. If you're pushing your lips out and you're pushing your neck forward and you're lowering your larynx, your vocal tract is going to be very long. And someone might look at you and say, "Oh, this is what larynx lowering is." Okay. But then the problem is that someone else might be keeping their larynx really close to their sternum and then shortening their neck. And you see opera singers, especially more robust ones, Franco Corelli and stuff, Mario Del Monaco, in these weird positions with the neck really shortened. So even though we're talking about the larynx being low, it can be deceptive if you're playing around at home. You're not doing this kind of radical neck shortening, and you're playing with the low larynx and you're sticking out your lips and everything, and you're just making a lot of length in the vocal tract. Length in the vocal tract always makes the vocal tract more inert, more resisting sound that is trying to excite it, trying to get it resonating. And that makes it so you can push a little bit harder into it. So it's a little bit harder to sing with the more shortened vocal tract. And it makes the sound a little bit brighter. So I could do a demonstration. If I'm singing better turn this down. I think I have some filters on here that should keep it from doing too much clipping. So, but we'll see. Maybe someone will let me know. Now, if I didn't shorten my neck, I would wind up with my vocal tract a little bit long. And something really different would wind up happening. Let's see if I can get that to happen. Oh, bad one. I'll try to make it long. I may wipe out because I usually don't do this way, but let's see. So I'll try to make it even longer. We had very shortened by retracting the neck, something in the middle. I'll try to make it longer. So even though I have more resistance from the vocal tract in the last example, and probably even more contact between the vocal folds is possible. So it's possible to push more into this coordination. It's not very powerful sounding. So it's kind of interesting. And I've been sometimes in my life kind of stuck in this coordination, and it sucks. And then I've other been times stuck in this coordination that's in the middle, and that's not great. Now the interesting thing about this is that you and I, in order to have the same coordination on the same pitch, what we're looking at is very similar vocal tract lengths. But this is independent of what we're comfortable with, used to, starting with, accustomed to, etc. So if my vocal tract is shorter to begin with, it could be a lot easier for me to get these higher pitches with fuller density and a metallic sound, etc., etc. And then other things could be more difficult. But and then two people with very different vocal tract lengths in general might wind up just using different strategies. So they might sing the same pitches with different vocal tract lengths. But if you're talking about making the same kind of resonance, you're talking about using the same kind of shape. So this is therefore a non-fungible effect, the length of your vocal tract. By pulling back the neck, you're essentially turning this thing. Let's see if I made a shape that's close to this. It doesn't, the app. Okay, so first, how did I get these shapes? So these 3D shapes represent the inside surfaces of somebody's vocal tract. And they're generated by the app that I used in the second and I think third videos that I made on visualizing the vocal acoustics. With that app, and I guess I'll just have to do another stream, and we'll actually maybe do some together. Look at how Vocal Tract Lab works. It's not the most useful thing for singers, but actually we can program it to make phrases, to make text and everything. And it's not a bad exercise because you have to visualize what shape you would need to make the vowels that you want, except with Vocal Track Lab, it's annoying, in my opinion, because some of these shapes they're what I call like adaptive, or they're like the leftover shapes to me. It's not that they don't make those vowels, it's just that there's other shapes that make those vowels that I'm more interested in. But they're ones that speech pathologists tend to be less interested in. Things like making twang and metallic sounds and everything. So Vocal Track Lab can't make metallic sounds. But all of the fungible effects from the areas of interest work perfectly in Vocal Track Lab, and you can actually see the math. However, mathematically adept, or what's the word? However good you are at math, you can take that really far with Vocal Track Lab and have all kinds of different simulations and visualizations and use the API to do your own stuff, whatever. But I exported a bunch of these shapes and then I put them in Blender, and it's just very roughly moving between them. So we have something like, if we're doing the New School Singing rubric, or if we're following the organization pattern of New School Singing, which that's what it is, by the way, mostly. It's New School Singing is a way of organizing your thoughts about singing so that you can make good decisions about your singing. So in that sense, it's not just my take on classical tenor singing. It's kind of about how do you go about learning this thing? Because it's weird learning how to sing, and even just letting other people help you learn how to sing is weird. It has all kinds of weird effects. Anyway, so the position is approximately right, but then the motion is complete bullshit. Like it's just like interpolating what it thinks is the difference between these two shapes and putting something in between. So don't get any ideas that I have my working laryngocentric anatomical research and reference interface that I was hyping because I was hoping to do. Yeah, that thing basically, it's not that it's stalled. Now I'm doing it this way and it has to be started over yet again. But anyway, the point was in the end that the reason for needing to keep the vocal tract steady, to keep the larynx steady, I think that Garcia was talking about today, is that if you're doing bigger singing especially, you need it to help open the jaw. And if you have one end of the vocal tract stabilized, you can make your moves without disturbing a lot of it, and that makes it more predictable to use. But that gives some weird articulation problems. So I'll give the two main ones that I run into. Articulation problem, I guess, number one, is that when I'm doing the more nasty, lighter sound, more edge-based approach from Complete Vocal Technique, there's some specific tricks to managing area of interest number two. That's the end of the mouth. I guess I'll label it on here. Whoopsie. And what's going on here? Well, let's get I don't know which view is helpful. We can actually, we can like fly in here. Watch it change from the inside. Let's see. I don't think I have lights on this scene. Oh, that's killing my system. Because I have too much going on right now. I hope this doesn't crash. That's really noisy. So this is with more the fancy rendering engine, but that's dangerous. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. And this is crap to look at now, but sorry guys. I don't have the most powerful computer. So, anywho. Managing area of interest number 2 can get tricky when doing this whole edge thing from CVT in an operatic way. Because we want to follow Garcia's thing of keeping the larynx as still as possible. That makes a problem if a lot of the times we're winding up in this kind of position. Give it a try. Get into kind of a deep back bend that opens your whole body. And look at the relationship between your tongue and your alveolar ridge. That's the ridge that's right behind your teeth. I mean, people talk about the tongue needs to be independent from the larynx, right? So, but who is reaching their up here? From this position with the lowered larynx. There's my larynx. Whoops. Sorry, I hit something with my elbow. So here's my larynx. And if I want to reach up there, I can't even get it back down anymore. So it has to be down. Before I do this motion with my neck to open the jaw further. If I start out in this position, I'll try to get the microphone out of the way. So if I start out in this position and now try to lower my larynx, it doesn't get past there. If it starts out low, then I can hold it in place and move my neck around. A lot of times, for a lot of people, me included, when you anchor the larynx like this, if you start to move your neck around, you might get this crunchy sound. So I'm going to see if I can get the crunchy sound and gross everyone out. And let's see what happens. Oh, I gotta get the microphone in the right position. All right, so you hear that? Let me see if I can. I can turn on a monitor. Yeah, so I can. I can hear if it's working. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I'm pretty sure you heard my crackling, crunching larynx here. The crackling, crunching larynx, I believe, is the hyoid bone essentially grinding against the thyroid cartilage. And then wherever they run into each other, there's this crunching sound. It's not different from, I guess, cracking your knuckles or something like that. Now, I don't know for sure that that's what that is, but it does happen when I'm anchoring my larynx down with my jaw and with my neck, or with my jaw, sorry, and with my tongue and shoulders and everything, and then moving my neck around. So that seems to me like it would be caused by that. Interestingly, the back, although these neck muscles I was showing the other day aren't connected to the voice, there's still muscles coming from up here, or muscle coming from the vocal tract and inserting back into the pharyngeal raphe that is itself associated with the spine. These things can pull on different parts of the vocal tract and so reshape it. So that's why this neck position is so important in certain coordinations for what sound you're going to get and even what vowel you're going to get. You know, if you think about, you're bringing like 20 things together to approximate a vowel that isn't made with the same shape as in speech from the point of view of your anatomy. But from the point of view of acoustics, it's similar. You've got similar values from these fungible effects. Yes. And by the way, while we're looking at this, I'm going to see if I can pull away areas of interest number 4 and number 5 so that we can see number 2 and number 3 and how different they are. If I switch this here, I wonder what you guys are looking at the moment, but I don't want to waste too much time. Aha. Okay, yeah. So those are, and by the way, this is a spreadsheet of all the different values. That it's working with, but I'll just show you real quick what the geometry nodes look like. So this is essentially the program. I'm gonna make sure you guys can see it. Well, yeah. So these nodes on the right, that's the program. That's and some of it is compressed because there's like layers inside of this. But that's what makes it work. It's yeah, and that's actually pretty simple math. And probably could be simplified if someone knew what they were doing. But in any case, let's get back to this. And I think the way I set this up is not like that. Not like that. One moment, guys. Let me just figure this out. Where, the problem is I program things and then I can't remember what I did. So let's just see where this driver refers to. Which property? What's going on? Alright, I'll just get rid of it like that. I don't know where I pointed that driver. No idea. So, bring this back. Okay, so now I've got just... Jeez. My things are never user-friendly. So now I've got just areas of interest number 2, and number 3 up here. I'll just label these. So, oh geez. There's number 2, and then there's number 3. And that's not the best color. Let's find a different color. Yeah. And each one takes up half the vocal tract, and number 2 is most intense at the end there, and number 3 is most intense at the beginning. But anything that you do in the first half of the vocal tract is area of interest number 3, technically. So when we say area of interest number 4, and I'll bring that back, and I'll come back in here. So when we say area of interest number 4 and number 5, remember what's underneath is area of interest number 3 and number 2. Just thought I should show that. And let's get rid of that. Okay. So this first articulation problem that comes with edge, and it's the deepest one with edge, and it's the fact that as you go up in pitch, you need this head rotation, and you'll see all kinds of singers using it. And someone's going to go, no. You don't need this head rotation because look. But it's not the same vocal coordination. You could use both probably interchangeably, depending on what the vowel is. Let's see if I have. Well, now let's see if I did this. If I did this properly, I should be able to get pitches without doing weird things to my scene. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys get. If the pitches play for you guys. Okay, anyway. I've got my keyboard working. So it's not the best example. Let me see. Let me think of a better. Okay. Let's think of a better. Yeah. So this vowel works in both coordinations, so should work relatively well as a demonstration. Vincero. That's more in the edge direction. Now it has this problem that I need to do this, and I have this che. Now che is not too bad because you can kind of che. And no one's gonna know that you sang Vincero. And it helps, especially if you're standing. It's gonna help if you think ha ha ha. Vincha. So you just, instead of bringing your tongue up to your to your palate, essentially you bring your palate down to your tongue, and then you bring your palate back up again to where you wanted it. In this way of doing things, area of interest number 5 winds up being more narrow than area of interest number 2. I'll just label these again. Area of interest number 5, which is here, right? It's going to be greater than 2. So we can say in opera edge, five. Oh, that looks terrible. I'm gonna give myself a little bit. Okay. In opera edge, 5 is greater than 2. Well, I'm going to take that back. Let's say it's greater than or equal to 2. I'll see if you guys can see that. Boop. But then what about opera overdrive? Oh, so we'll put this over here. And I'll just label it OD. But in complete vocal technique, they call this overdrive. And that's typically demonstrated as a, hey, you! Hey, you! Oh, I threw my, hang on, I threw my pen. Okay, so something based on this calling sound, the village, what is it? The town crier voice. And in overdrive, area of interest number 5 is going to be less than or equal to 2. And you see what I did there? I made it so they overlap because they kind of do. I think when they're going to be equal, it's going to be a bit ambiguous. Maybe, or you won't be sure. Maybe you won't be in either. I don't know. But in general, focus on the greater than and the less than. So for the overdrive version, it changes what vowel I'm going to use. So instead of this sound, which you could describe as nasty, light, other things you could describe it as, it's going to be based on and I'll take a quick break, and then I'll demonstrate how I would sing this same phrase using this other chord, something based on this other coordination. This poor cat. I came home today from training my new sidekick, and the cat's just watching us. Just sitting there watching us from the next yard over. I'm going to give it some time. I think the cat's going to warm up to my new sidekick. But then eventually I'm going to move away. That's the problem. I'm leaving this place soon, and it's not my cat. Like I don't it's not even, the cat doesn't live indoors. It doesn't like being inside, really. It likes to visit being inside. It's like, oh, that's quaint. Look, there's no sun or stars or moon or sky. But it doesn't hang out inside. But but that was the first time today that I saw the cat watching us. So that's a sign, I think. I'm gonna start leaving the treats out a little bit less, I think, for the cat, and see if I can get some interaction between the cat and the dog. Anyway, but back to the singing. And then I suppose I'm going to go after this. So if area of interest number where were we? Oh yes, overdrive. If area of interest number 5 is greater than area of interest number 2, it means that somehow the larynx got under the jaw. That the depth that you're making in the vocal tract is going below the level of the chin. So you saw when I did this other coordination, my tongue isn't going below my chin. But my tongue isn't going below my chin because my tongue is attached to my larynx, to my hyoid bone. Right? And even though this is low compared, someone can say, it's a low larynx. But my vocal tract isn't very long. It's actually kind of short because I'm doing this head rotation. And my tongue is above the level of my chin. So if we look at, that's what I was saying. Area of interest number 5 is going to be, oh, I did that backwards. Sorry. Oh, jeez. I did it backwards. I guess less than, I was thinking in terms of height, but we shouldn't. That's just confusing people. Let's think in terms of expansion. How wide is it? Because that's how we've been talking about them so far. So let's stick with that. And I apologize. So area of interest number 5 is going to be less than area of interest number 2 for this opera edge. Right? It's more narrow there. And you have more like this funnel shape for the end of the vocal tract. For the overdrive, you're trying to get this tongue to go below the level of, let's start with your teeth. And you want it to be at the same time not doing that just because it's very compressed. So, because what you want to happen is this whole hyoid bone to kind of like get sucked down lower. You want this whole area to be pulled down instead of kind of pushed up like it was in the other example I was giving. So your pharynx is going to be pulled down, essentially. And we're going to need a really deep breath for this one. Unlike the opera edge, you have to have a full tank for this. So essentially, have a full tank for everything, because then you've got the options, right? And this whole dopey thing, and yawning to breathe in, that's now useful. What you're going to try to do is you open your jaw as quickly, or what I try to do, you can do it too, I guess. What I try to do is open the jaw as quickly as possible so that I get a nice big opening before I put in the tension to stabilize the larynx. And that's going to be going down. So if you think about an order of operations for this opera edge, I stabilized my larynx first, and then I moved the mouth. And now I'm going to move my mouth and jaw, and then I'm going to stabilize the larynx. It makes a darker sound, makes a more mellow sound. It's got a longer vocal tract, slightly. And it's not as loud. I think it's never as loud and quite as powerful as the edge version. But at the same time, there's something about it. It's like there's a hidden power underneath it or something like that. People respond to it and its mellowness in a certain positive way when it's used in the right way. Both of these had a pretty short neck and shortened vocal tract. The second one, I'm only avoiding tucking my chin by using my lower back to flex a little bit and my upper back to extend a bit. And that brings me here. But the distance between my chin and my chest is the same as that baritone you know who's always going, so he's probably trying to make sure he's getting into opera overdrive. So he's tucking his chin to get the chin close to the chest. And that's functional. So then the idea with what I'm showing here is you just finish that off with using your spine now to turn yourself up into the lights, into the spotlight or whatever, so that people can see you and you can move around and stuff. So these two, I don't know how much that had to do with what Garcia was saying. If you're able to very quickly move between consonants and metallic sounds, you're going to save air, because a lot of air comes out when you make consonants. And of course that's like the death of your overdrive, because you can't really do this overdrive with a half empty breath. You'll wind up with what's called curbing. So if I exhale almost all the way, and unfortunately I used to teach people to do this on purpose to get a stronger sound, because this guy David Jones convinced me that this is what Caruso meant, and then but Jones never read the Caruso thing, because the Caruso thing said nothing of the sort, and he never read this Garcia, because even though Garcia was saying, or Caruso was saying at least, to just use a small amount of air during the phrase and keep 90% of it in reserve, that somehow got turned into just take 10%. Okay. So if I blow out, it's going to wind up being actually easier somehow to sing the phrase. But I can never have the fuller density feeling or the fuller density sound to demonstrate. I guess first with overdrive, and then I'll exhale and just attempt to do the same thing. Vincero, Vincero. Well, it's hard work. You wind up with a very high closed quotient, and the microphone maybe is not as much of a volume difference, and I do have compression on here and stuff, so but nonetheless, regardless of how loud it sounds on your end coming out of your speakers, you ought to be able to sense that it's a much less powerful sound. Whereas the first one,
the energy extends past your limbs and becomes fire.
Yeah. And then the third one,
It's a fake.
okay. So I guess we got no questions. I think, whoever's, if anyone's tuning in and has questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'm going to wrap this up, call it a night, and maybe try to edit some clips really quickly. I wanted to give just a quick shout out before I go to my extremely lovely partner, who is, I wonder if she's home yet. Well, anyway, if she's not home, I love you, babe. And if she is home, I still love you, babe. Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, that's cheesy. So I'm going to go. Sorry, guys. This has been Mr. Opera. We read some Manuel Garcia today, and we looked at some vocal acoustics visualizations, and we looked at my take on Opera Edge and Opera Overdrive from Complete Vocal Technique. We also, let's see.
I also did this. Anyway. And, yeah. Crap.
Now it's stuck like that. Okay, yeah. There we go. So, see you next time. And don't forget to, I don't know, yeah. Send me your requests, etc. All those things. I'm just at a loss for words tonight. But I'll see you next time.
The straw.
It's just a straw, right?
It's not just any old straw. We've sized it very particularly, you guys.
So the SMBT Straw Pro comes with a minimum of 40 resistance configurations in one device.
And then we have 2 straws that are the exact same size, diameter, and length. And this is so that we have options.
After you've practiced the exercises for maybe 5 minutes,
you'll see here that the vocal cords aren't in sync with each other.
You have to put more work within the body to just get things going because the straw isn't providing you with enough.
it is very important that you let no air escape around the straw between your lips or through your nose.
But the thing is with that, it cuts off the nasal resonance part of singing, which is very important to singing.
It's almost as if you're trying to release it out through the straw to whatever's in front of you.
You will find when you go back to normal speech that your voice seems to be coming out of your eyes instead of your throat.
If you are splashing yourself, you're creating volcanoes, and that is not allowed.
A wise man once said, "There is a sucker born every minute."
No, 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 no. Oh, hell no.
So just grab a straw.
For those of you who talk several hours a day and your voice gets tired, here's a tip to keep you talking. Press your voice like this